got the whole thing has an element of comedy in it, with exception of maybe Meal Ticket.
Oh, come on. I watched the clip
Yeah.
yesterday where he's got the mirror shooting the guy's fingers
Yeah,
off.
I love that.
Wait,
Yeah.
a couple
Oh,
of them are.
please.
I mean, that first one is downright screwball. I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But they all have a bit of comedy in them, with exception of maybe Meal Ticket. That one's not funny at all, if you ask me. There's no funny in that at all, except for maybe the part where, frick, what's his name?
Liam
Liam Neeson is singing on the next to the fire and just drunk off his butt kind of thing. But I thought that was kind of funny. But Liam Neeson singing is funny in and of itself, I guess. But
I mean,
anyway,
the whole thing is a Coen Brothers. It's got that Coen Brothers feel to it,
Yeah, a little bit twisted in places. And then the last one's The Mortal Remains, where they're all in a coach, stagecoach, with a dead body on the roof, going to Fort wherever it was, Fort Morgan, I guess. And they got a whole group of people in that stagecoach that are all way different folks and all have their own little takes on things, and it's kind of an interesting little character study in and of itself. And then they talk about, there's a little bit of singing in that one too, and they talk about the dead body on the roof at one point.
Terror of Tiny Town.
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
That's a very
There's a possible exception of all the garbage music in it.
yeah.
It won a Golden Turkey for the most exploitative film of all time.
What, her Tiny Town?
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
I could see.
I came up with the concept of a Western where everyone was visually impaired and called it Blind Man's Gulch. It never came to fruition.
That's great. I love it.
That's so funny.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. I was a sick kid. I really was. A sick adult now, too.
We've all come up with some pretty sick film ideas, some rated in ways that, anyway.
I tried to make a student film called Jurassic Christ, where they cloned Jesus from the Shroud of Turin. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh,
I can hear.
Twilight Zone episode or something.
What?
Wasn't that already a Twilight Zone episode?
Not that I know of.
I've seen an episode of something where they tried to clone Jesus from the Shroud of Turin, and he come back like the Antichrist or something.
oh God.
I'm not familiar with that.
It was a double feature with the Martian Chronicles story you saw.
Might be trash. No.
But getting back to Buster Scruggs, I really like this movie because it's kind of like you said, every vignette is very different tonally. Like it shouldn't work. It should feel like it's all over the place, but it really does work. I don't know if it's because it's the Coen brothers and they managed to infuse that unique style of theirs into everything, so it all kind of blends together. But also, it kind of feels like each one is like a snapshot, like a what am I trying to say? Like a Cliff Notes version of a Western.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What is that?
Can I read something real quick right here for Thrash?
Please go for it.
The Shroud, an episode of The Outer Limits from 1999, where they take the DNA from the Shroud to create a child intended to be the second coming, which does not go very well.
You say 99? They stole that idea from me. My idea came first.
Outer Limits.
My idea came from 1997. So,
aha!
I told you I've seen it though. Don't.
I believe you.
That one was
That's like
easy.
that's like me saying
I'm
Trash,
still looking for the
giving you
other
a
one.
hard
And you
time.
had to bring
dude.
that up,
Chill
didn't
out.
you? You just had to.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's part of my boyish charm, Daddy. Love you. I'm just joking you.
Now I have that headache again. It's been the rest of the day searching for old TV shows.
I sketched a concept for the Burj Dubai, the tallest building in the world, in 1994, long before it was ever a concept in any architect's mind. So
There you
I don't
go.
know if there's like, collective unconscious going on or something, but that was my design. I designed it years ago. Anyway, so I'm the designer of the Burj Dubai apparently, but
I think I'm going to inspire people by putting a cash reward on whoever comes up with that episode title or the show it was on.
Mhm.
so I can find out. I bet if I put a money reward on it, people would look.
Can't
Your own
hurt.
little James Randy $1 Million challenge.
wouldn't
I
tell
believe
you.
there's still a cash reward to anybody who can disprove anything said by Ripley's Believe It or Not, and they have yet to pay out.
That's pretty cool.
Oh.
That is cool.
Anyway, yeah, Buster Scruggs, fantastic movie, and I know Danny apparently doesn't like it, but I really love that last segment because it kind of feels like a allegory for something, for death.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. It's
Very cool.
It's-
You stole one
Yeah.
of my props.
Ripley's
And-
Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, the actors in it are amazing. All of them.
Oh, yeah.
That last one you've got Tyne Daly, you've got
Mhm.
what's his name?
John
got
Joe
Brendan-
O'Neill.
Brendan Gleeson, and who's the French guy? Like the
Oh.
actor's not French, but
No, Saul Rubinek.
yeah, Saul Rubinek. He's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
He almost is playing Poirot, which is kind of funny.
Mhm. And who was
I
the
saw
old
Lady
who was the
Gaga.
old prospector guy? Who played him?
I don't remember.
The mountain man or whatever he was.
I didn't
called.
recognize him under all the grit, so like
Yeah,
The
he was
grit.
good though.
I'm looking at the actors right now, trying to see if I can recognize him, but he looks so different.
Oh, that's how you know all the names are cheating. Okay. I was all impressed. You knew all these people. I didn't know you had a computer screen beside you. I should do
Yeah, I
that.
got dual
too.
monitors here, man. I am not that smart, seriously.
We can't all be indie, okay?
Yeah, I don't remember all of this stuff. I just oh, there it is. Cecil Ross or Chelsea Ross, sorry, played the trapper.
No idea.
Yeah,
He's good.
You know, that's his voice though. That is right. Yeah, that's him for sure.
Cool.
Am I
So-
my trapper's keeper?
Wow.
Did you get that joke from Corey's Comedy Channel?
It's the best I can do on such short notice.
I loved Clancy Brown when he played Curly Joe.
I was sad
then
that he
the
wasn't in
song.
more of the movie, but yeah.
Yeah. It was such a short little segment, but it was like, yeah, he's the perfect bad guy, you know. So
The perfect
anyway.
evil gambler who's
Yeah.
probably cheating. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And the perfect Mr. Krabs. That blew my mind when I found out that was actually
money,
him.
money, money, money.
that's Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, Clancy Brown is
didn't know
Mr.
that.
Krabs. You didn't
Oh
know
my
that?
God. I didn't know that. Holy moly, that
I
makes
always
perfect
call
sense
him
though.
Mr. Krabs.
And his
Hmm.
daughter is actually married to Tom Kenny in real life.
That's true.
Really?
Yeah. They were on a sketch variety show like 30 years ago. That's where they met. But yeah.
I met
That's all.
Squidward, Roger Bumpus. I met him. He's fun. He's been around a long time. You'll see him in a lot of like 80s movies, just in the background as like an extra or like a voice, like a radio voice or something. He was all over the place. He's been around, you know. It's not just Squidward.
I just saw Indy's little comment over there. No, I did not account for Tom Cruise climbing in my blueprints, but that would have been interesting. But
Oh, bye, Wash. Thanks for dropping
Take
by.
care, Wedge. Hello, goodbye.
Okay, so unless anybody has anything else to say about Buster Scruggs, but
just that it's a great movie, and if you
It's a
haven't
great
seen
movie
it,
and
you
I
should
really
watch
liked
it. Yeah, you should.
Damien
watch
was
it.
100% correct about it last time he brought it up.
Yeah, I've brought it up like 3 different times now.
I finally watched it.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm glad you did.
Danny can attest. It takes me a while, but I will eventually.
Oh, no,
I've
I get
seen
it.
that movie a couple of times.
Mhm.
You know, like I said, I don't hate the movie, but I do fast forward through the singing part.
You don't like the Curly Joe song? Come on,
I don't like none of
Curly
that.
Joe.
Not one drop.
The
I don't
only
like-
singing is in like the first
Yeah.
and the last one.
Yeah,
Well, I guess the prospector sings too, but it's not
yeah.
like-
You know, I love the movie Blazing Saddles, but I'm not real fond of the music in it neither.
Mm.
okay.
You know, same here. I'm not a big fan of the music in Blazing Saddles either, but I do love the movie. So
I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of music in movies at all.
mm.
And after,
So you're not a
after
musical fan, then?
and after seeing Joker 2, if I never hear a song in a movie, I'll be absolutely happy.
Oh,
Another little fun fact: Mel Brooks wrote the music for Blazing Saddles 2, as
He's written
well.
music for a long
Oh.
I was
time.
like, wait, Blazing
Like
Saddles
To Be
2?
or
What are you
Not
talking
to
about?
Be,
As,
or you
as
know,
well.
and Mel Brooks is not a good songwriter.
I disagree. Springtime for Hitler is fantastic.
No,
That was the best.
are all them horrible
Oh,
music
I'm
numbers
still
in History of the World? Come on, no. And do you count History of the World as an anthology movie?
Yeah, we talked about it last week. Yeah.
it is, yeah.
It is definitely, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
I
don't
share
have to
my
talk about it
birthday
this
with
week.
my
Okay, move
So,
on.
yeah, so there's no point in talking
We
about it.
can. Like I said, I don't care
Oh,
if
we
you
don't have
repeat.
to. We can move on.
Yeah. Let's move on. We got
Okay, Tracy, your
Yeah.
Yeah,
turn.
Tracy's turn.
I don't know if this is an anthology or not, but I really fell in love with The Stand. You know, the Stephen King.
Well, I mean, kind of an anthology because you're following so many different characters who are all doing their own
I mean,
thing.
I just I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, until we actually got COVID. I mean,
In my book,
never
I
thought I would
qualify
get
that as a miniseries.
Yeah, yeah. You see, I like stuff like that, though. I like stuff that talks about people's lives and things and how life changes in the aftermath of that, that virus that was put on by so-called devil. You know, I thought it was pretty interesting myself. But yeah, I like that a lot.
That was the
Okay.
first time I'd ever seen Gary Sinise. He's really good in it.
I have to say, I love that. So you picked
Yeah.
something I will not criticize one little bit because I actually love that movie.
No, The Stand was absolutely amazing. I think it
Brilliant.
was like American television at its best.
Well, I actually like the book even better, but
No,
Now, of all the Stephen King miniseries, and there was like a plague of them in the late 80s, early 90s, I think it's my favorite.
Yeah.
I think it's the
I can
best.
say that too.
Yeah.
And as we've discussed at some length, Stephen King does not loan himself well to the visual arts because so much of the story is what's going on in
your
the
head.
characters' heads.
Mm.
And since you can't see in their heads, it's lost. Like Cujo, the book was amazing. The movie was you know. So I mean, there are some exceptions. Don't get me wrong, but like I thought Misery, they did a very nice job. Although again, book better than movie. But The Stand, they really did an amazing job adapting the human drama, which is, as Tracy, as you put it, it's what it is. It's the sort of the evolution of the characters, particularly because we see them before, during, and after the event. So you really feel enfranchised in the character development.
As far as I'm concerned, the Stand would be in my top 5 Stephen King movie adaptations out there, and would be probably the number 1 miniseries with a tie for maybe Salem's Lot.
Yeah. I didn't think about Salem's Lot, but you're right.
Yeah, Salem's Lot's just as good as any miniseries ever made.
And it technically is a miniseries. It's just 2 episodes, but yeah.
I like a lot of that. I like that because they had a lot of suspense in it, and I'm one of these people that like more suspense than I do actually, head chopper offers. But I think the suspense thing really plays with your mind a bit because like if you're sitting there, you're watching it, or like a VC Andrews, and you see like 4 plots dug out for the kids, it kind of makes your mind go crazy. It's even worse than seeing some slash because at least you see that. But I mean, you kind of use your imagination, as it were.
No, and I think that's why Stephen King was or still is, such a successful horror writer, because that's what he focuses on. He focuses on the psychology of it. He focuses on the people, the characters. As misanthropic as he is, he still manages to make it a human story. Like every story, no matter how outrageous or how violent or terrible or horrifying, it's always about the human side of the equation. And I think, yeah, that's probably the most positive thing I've ever said about Stephen King on this channel. So.
Well, you're finally going to tell us, since we're talking about Stephen King, what you thought of The Night Flyer, the movie I suggested you watch.
Yes, I loved it, actually. I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised. It's very low budget, but it feels like a TV movie because it kind of is. But man, Miguel Ferrer as like this jaded National Enquirer type reporter on the hunt, trailing down some vampire is pretty cool. And it's really, it worked so well. And the whole thing is kind of like this mental mind that, like, it's really good. It's a really, really good movie, and I highly recommend it. Danny was absolutely right to recommend it to me. And as with Damien and Buster Scruggs, it took a couple of months, but I got there. I watched it.
You know what I always thought when I saw that movie? If you change that guy's name to Carl Kolchak and you let him stake that vampire out at the end of the movie, it would have made a good series.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
The Night Flyer, you know, would have become the new pilot for the Night Stalker new series with that guy playing the Kolchak character, and I think it would have worked so well.
Well,
But
Stephen
again, with
King. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just with the Night Flyer, like there was all that build up. Like it feels like the slow burn, and you're not really sure where it's gonna go. You expect it's going to end with a vampire, obviously, but you don't expect when he walks into that airport at the end, during the climax, and it's just like a massacre. There's like dead bodies and blood everywhere. That's the
one little part I thought might have been slightly overdone.
It was a bit too much, yeah.
But it worked. It worked.
But it worked.
Wow.
The funny thing, Stephen King has written. He's written so many short stories that I think you could actually have your own anthology series on the works of Stephen King and make it work. And if you think of some of the times he actually has had adaptations. Grandma, I think, is one of the scariest one-shot short stories ever made. That was the one, of course, he collaborated with your dad's friend, Harlan Ellison, Tracy. And that is like very... Oh, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
No, I said it was my dad's friend, not so much mine.
Yeah.
Oh no, I said your dad's friend. I'm sorry.
No, you're cool.
Yeah, and that is like something right out of Lovecraft. There was in Dark Room there was an adaptation of was it Siege of Huzuka, whatever, where about the army men that go on a quest for revenge.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember I don't remember the title. It's been years, but yeah, I know.
Siege of something or other. I forget. But Indy, where are you when I need you most? But it was actually excellent. It was really good. So oh yeah, me too, Kerwin. That scared the beat. I think I slept with the light on, and I was 17 when it came out. I still slept with the light on.
It scared the Bee Gees out of you, but you're still staying alive. I got you.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, Darlene Flugel was in it, by the way, and I had such a crush on her. But you could very easily do Stephen King short stories till the cows come home. In fact, didn't he write a story called The Cows Come Home?
But no, I mean, like, I've always said, I criticize Stephen King as a novelist all the time. I'm kind of known for it among certain circles. To the point where in one of my literary groups they told me to stop talking about Stephen King. But as a short story writer, I think he's a master. I love his short stories. I think they are miles ahead of his novels. Yeah. And it's no coincidence we started this episode talking about Cat's Eye and Creepshow.
Yeah. So. Yeah. You know another author that has a shit ton of short stories that they should do an anthology about is like Isaac Asimov.
Yes.
So he's got a ton of short stories that he did years and years and years ago. And all of them stand on their own, or a lot of them stand on their own, but a lot of them also tie into like one series or another. And a lot of them are actually used to make some of the different series. So, you know.
No, like Isaac Asimov was one of the progenitors of the whole connected universe style of storytelling. Even like later in his career, he would take stories that had nothing to do with each other and he'd find a way to connect them that made kind of sense.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat. Yeah.
Well, that's what Brian Aldiss did as well, but he would or even Ray Bradbury. The Martian Chronicles is just a collection of stories that revolve around Mars exploration.
Yeah.
Aldous took a collection of his short stories that seemed to fit into a theme, and he would make a book out of it. You know, so he would have anthology novels, I guess you'd call them.
No, but like with Asimov, especially towards the very end of the Foundation series, where he's like tying in the Robot series and the Empire series, and he's making one grand narrative that covers like his entire writing career. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. for sure.
God, I should have brought the Asimov comics and novels.
I'm always down to talk about Asimov, but usually when I start talking about Asimov to people who like Asimov, I'll eventually bring up how much I like the Foundation TV series, and then I get excommunicated for liking it. So
it's not bad. They've done the best they can to adapt something that's, you know,
pretty
huge.
unadaptable.
You know, yeah, something that's completely unadaptable. They've adapted, so they've done what they can. You know,
Asimov, Isaac Asimov adapted comic books laying around in science fiction stuff.
Cool. I've never read an Isaac Asimov adapted comic book.
I'll see if I can bring them up. I don't remember what they are right now. I did not bring them out here.
Okay.
Anthology comics.
But yes, The Stand, very good.
yes.
Don't think it qualifies as an anthology, but you can kind of squeeze it in there. That's fine.
You see, I didn't think it was, but I thought I'd take a chance.
Hey, it's fine. I brought you in last minute. You didn't prep, so it's fine.
You didn't have to study.
So Thresh, what do you got?
I am going to do something out of character, and I'm going to bring up something very, very obscure.
Thank God.
Of course.
I got a limited list over here, and he's done took one.
This was actually, it was intended as a pilot in the sort of paranormal renaissance that took place in the 70s. This was actually going to be a show sort of in the spirit of One Step Beyond. And it was called Encounters with the Unknown. And what they did was they took 3 installments, put them together with a loose framing device of a presenter, of a narrator, sort of like your Robert Llewellyn type, and made it when you watch it, it feels more like a mockumentary than an actual horror anthology. And one of the cool things about it, well, 2 things. One, they present it to you as if it was legit, as if it was In Search Of, or something like that. So it has a nice, solid feel of authenticity. And also, while it suffers from what I'm going to describe as profound lack of budget, I mean, even for 70s TV, the budget wasn't great, you could tell. The stories are stand-up. The first one is called The Hexagon, which is about these college students who set their friend up in a prank. He gets killed, and the mother comes out of nowhere and puts a curse on them to get her revenge. And hilarity ensues. Another one is called The Darkness, which is sort of The Legend of Boggy Creek meets a Hellmouth. And the last one is The Girl on the Bridge, which, of course, I'm sure you guys are familiar with. It's an old urban legend about a young girl in the 1920s who elopes with her fiancé. Car goes off the road and into a river. They drowned. And what happens is people see this for years, for decades. Drivers by see a girl who looks in distress. She says, I have to get home. They take her home. And before they get to her house, she disappears. And then when you get to the house, they say, oh, that was our daughter. She died in 1925. She's been trying to get home for years, but she never makes it. And it's a really great story. So, which is why I'm sure they have to use it. But again, for 70s TV, this is really good. And for years, they used to release it on like late night TV or creature feature shows, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And again, I wish it had actually gotten the budget to actually, much like the Dylan Hunt saga, to actually give it a shot for its own show. Because I've always found stuff like this tantalizing.
No, I remember it, actually. I saw it when I was a kid. I probably saw it on late night TV. Like, that's probably where I saw it, because I was a night owl as a kid. I would sleep during school and be up all night at home, usually watching late night TV.
Yeah, around here we had the PBS channel, and starting about 10 o'clock on a Sunday night for like 5 hours in a row, they'd show Night Galleries and Twilight Zones.
Oh, totally.
All these anthology shows from the 40s and 50s you never heard of.
But I remember Encounter with the Unknown. It creeped me out because I was young enough to believe that they were all based on a true story. You know, like when you're young and you actually believe that.
Well, it's presented to you like that too. Like I say, they make it seem like a documentary. It's
narrated by Rod Serling, and whenever Rod Serling tells you something, you believe it. You know.
Yeah.
Right.
Like all my favorite comic books come to life.
Yeah, it was fun.
I used to watch like Ripley's Believe It or Not show when I was a kid, and used to think that a lot of that stuff was, fully real.
Apparently it is.
According to them, it is. Yeah, exactly.
Again, they still haven't been able to disprove any of the stories, to my knowledge. They
Okay.
haven't been
And of
Oh,
course,
I must confess, they do take license with the stories. I guarantee you, they take certain license.
Absolutely.
Actual,
Yeah.
For dramatic purposes, as they say.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
What used to get me was that Tales of the Unknown.
Mm.
Because, like I said,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
more psychological.
Oh, I remember that show. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, geez, creep me out.
Was that the one from the UK? Tales of the Unknown.
No, it's actually the one from America. They made an American version.
Okay, well, I always get that one confused with one that was from England, and the one from England for some reason, the English one was always even creepier to me. I'm not sure why, but it was. But yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that show always freaked me out because here it is, it's playing with my mind again,
I love the one about El Madrid. Did you ever see the one with El Madrid?
I think so.
That's
It's been
a
a
great.
while, but I think I remember
It's a merchant marine who deserts, and he's like stuck on this island and can't get off. So he decides he's going to mug this guy to get a few bucks, and he accidentally kills him. And he panics and he goes to his friend who's a prostitute. He says, "Someone you know must be able to help me." And she goes, "Oh yeah, go to El Madrid." And he spends the entire night trying to find this gangster El Madrid. And he finally, after many trials and tribulations, finds the widow and says, "Well, El Madrid can't help you. Someone murdered him earlier today." And he's like, "Whack, whack, whack."
Yeah,
I'm not going to bring up no episode because then I'll have to go find it to prove it exists.
That's it. El Madrid fought the Martians.
Well, Snarky, I'm glad we're doing our part. But if you want more carpets to clean, I mean, mine could use some. So
I will search till I find it.
And by the way, Snarky, I have an apology to you. You came on my show the other night, literally as I was hitting the end stream button. I didn't even have a chance to say hello to you. I am so sorry. Thank you for making it. And I'm sorry I cut you off, but it was so nice of you to make it at the last moments of my show. Thank you.
Are you going to be on tonight, Crash?
I am going to be on tonight, my normal 7:30 time.
Cool.
Thank
I know you were on Friday.
You popped on Friday or something, and I missed everything because I didn't know you were going to do it.
I knew he was going to do it, but like I never got the notification and I forgot because it's Friday night. So I'm sorry I missed it too.
Well, you guys all get hall passes, so don't worry. But I'll see you guys tonight, definitely.
Yes.
50-50.
But anyway, I'm glad you brought up an obscure movie that I've actually seen. That's fun.
I'm relieved someone's seen it too, because every now and then I have like the Danny scenario where it's like, did I dream this or is it really a movie?
Mandela effect. Mandela effect.
Real quickly, I'm going to bring up the one from earlier I was telling Tug about. The day I was flipping through anthology movies and I discovered this one. What was the name of it? Tales from Halloween or something?
Yeah, Tales from Halloween with Andre.
And it's got Adrienne Barbeau. And it's like her character in The Fog reading. It starts out with her in a radio station talking, and it's like her telling stories, and it's an anthology movie. And I just discovered it today. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but it's on my to watch list.
It's on mine too now because I'd never heard of it.
DJ Anubis wanted me to. He was doing a panel show on it, and wanted me to join him. I'm like, I'm sorry, I haven't seen it, so I need to watch it too.
You are aware of it.
Is that from 2015 or the Tales of Halloween?
Yeah,
it's actually on my content channel. In what's what I'm looking for? In the spirit, in honor of my anniversary, I went through and I dug out trivia questions about my content. So that might put you behind the 8 ball, but we'll have fun either way. And by the way, if you're very lucky, Damien, tonight I have a top 10 list of the best Canadian themed dad jokes.
Oh.
So, and I'll leave you to let me know if they're acceptable or not.
What time's your show again? What time?
7:30.
Okay. But ironically, right at the time you're supposed to go live around 7:00, I'm supposed to get hit with this monster storm. The one that did all that damage is supposed to be here tonight at 7:00.
It's supposed to be hitting here about that same time too, so hopefully.
Yeah, it's this big
Yeah.
streak of storms coming across the
Mhm.
country, and it's only like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's already starting to look like nighttime out here.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it hit through here not too long ago, and I
Yeah.
can't really go anywhere because the streets outside my subdivision are flooded, and I've discovered I have a leak in my bathroom, so that's always fun.
Oh,
I
fun.
have to fix my roof, my ceiling, actually. Not my roof.
Oh, commiserations.
It's like it's dripping through the vent, you know, like the bathroom vent, and it's like
Mhm.
leaving water stains on the ceiling.
Yeah.
So I could get
Yeah,
that
that was a place.
taken
That was
care of.
a place up in Kentucky got hit with a tornado, almost 500 yards wide, and it run
Oof.
for almost 30 miles straight on the ground. Luckily, it was in a rural, scarcely populated area, and mostly just killed trees.
Mhm. Those poor trees.
Yeah, that's bad.
But there's quite a lot of
Glad you
houses
take care of
and stuff
yourself.
took out. I've seen some pictures from down your way, Tug, in Missouri that were pretty bad.
There's some places like pretty close to where I live that got hit really bad, and I've seen houses
Arkansas,
destroyed and all that
Upper
stuff.
Arkansas
And
was
Yeah.
destroyed.
I'm very grateful to have not had that happen to my house. So
Yeah. Yeah, that storm that came through last weekend, or was it Monday? I can't remember through here, but it actually flooded out most of Pensacola State College's parking lots and all of Airport Boulevard and the mall around it and everything. It was crazy. There were cars floating down 9th Avenue and Airport at one point.
Oh
So
my God.
Wow.
yeah,
And you're in Pensacola, right?
yeah.
Wow.
That's on the plateau at the top of the hill. So
Yeah.
it's like that water all drained away pretty quickly eventually, but still, I had people calling me up asking me, is Carpenter's Creek, overflowing? There's flooding everywhere. I'm like, no, it's still in its banks. It's fine, but because Carpenter's Creek is right there in my backyard, and it usually comes up
Wow.
over the bank
One thing you
into
worry
the
about
yard.
at your age is the weather.
Huh?
I don't know why. When I was
Yeah.
young, I didn't care what the weather was. Now that I'm old, I watch it up and worry about it.
Yeah, that's because it could damage your property. So it's things to worry about, So anyway,
Sure.
but enough about the weather.
I'm not worried about my property. I'm not worried
This is
about my
we're
property.
talking about movies here.
I'm worried about me getting damaged.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true.
That's
As
bad.
Samuel
need to
Clemens
be
said,
bad.
everyone's talking about the weather, but nobody's doing anything about it. Of course, we are, aren't we?
Well, now in Superman 3, they had that weather satellite. They were doing something about it, but
Yeah, that's why I'm being glib. Or
Yeah, I know.
are they?
Or are they?
Now, I
Oh.
could bring up a whole thing called heart, but I'm not going to do that because
Hmm.
they'll probably shut the stream down.
Yeah.
What, you don't like Amy Wilson? What?
Yeah.
I was going to say, someone
got
had to
it.
get that.
I
All right,
thought it
so-
took me a second, but I got it.
I'm going to go crazy on you.
Crazy on you.
Harp, HARP.
Oh, heart.
It looks like I'm only
Huh.
going to have one more chance. So what do I pick? I have so many that I wanted to talk about.
I left my harp.
Well, since Thrash
in-
is here, I will actually talk about VHS 2. Not one, but two. The VHS
Oh.
movies are, again, pretty recent, from like 2012 or something. And there's like 50 of them. I've only seen the first two. I have not seen all of them. The first one has its moments, but the second one is actually the really good one. And these movies are basically, the framing story is silliness about like they break into somebody's house and there's these VHS tapes everywhere and they have to like put them in and watch them on these old VCRs and old CRT TVs, and they like drive them insane because there's all this weird supernatural stuff going on. But each tape is different, and they're all like found footage horror movies, little how found footage horror movies. And I like found footage. I know it's not for everybody. I know some people hate it. I don't. I love them. VHS 2 has a lot VHS 2 is one of those anthology movies where almost every single one of them is good. What are you laughing at now?
He noticed I froze.
Oh. I thought you were laughing about Geostorm.
Yeah.
Oh, my missing more.
Anyway, the segment I really wanted to talk about, because Thrash is here, is you got a guy on a bike, and he basically puts a GoPro on a helmet, right? And you're seeing everything from his point of view, and he's going down this mountain trail, and everything seems normal. And then all of a sudden, he's in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and he gets bit, and he becomes a zombie. So you get like a zombie apocalypse from the point of view of the zombie.
Oh.
And it's actually very clever and very well shot. And it's classic George Romero type zombies, you know, slow walking, but full blood and guts all over the place. Like, but it's so good. It's so well done, and it's so clever. I don't want to spoil what it does to the story, but it's very cool. It's not the best story in the movie. The best one is actually about like these kids who go into a cult with like body cameras attached to them. It's like an old, like weird Indonesian death cult, basically. It's kind of like Jim Jones. They go in there to interview the cult leader, and then they find themselves in the middle of like, you know, mass suicide. But it keeps going. There's more to it than that. Like the one girl in the group is pregnant, you find out halfway through, and the cult is somehow using that to give birth to the Antichrist beast thing, and it's all very scary.
Come up with a big old horn in its head and stuff.
Yeah, that's the one downside is when you actually see the monster at the very end, it kind of lets down the whole thing because it's so goofy.
That down ain't the word.
Everything up to that point is really good, but that last shot, it's so stupid looking. But anyway, VHS 2, if you haven't seen any of the VHS movies and you like found footage, I highly recommend it. You don't have to see the first one to make sense. It's just like Creepshow. You don't have to see the first one to see the second one. It's just an anthology. They're very cool. I like it a lot. I will say the very last one with the alien abduction is kind of weak, but the rest of them are good.
Oh, that was the best one.
I haven't seen it. I'm going to have to check it out because it sounds great. There was a Masters of Horror. About 15 years ago? The Master of Horror series that came out. There was one story. It was about a spoiler alert. I should mention that at this point. There was about a girl in a zombie apocalypse that's trying to make it back to her friends, and the payoff at the end is she actually was a zombie.
Right.
But you're still watching it through her point of view. So I love that premise, and I'm sure the other two were great. I mean, I'm never one to actually let a special effects letdown ruin a good story. I mean, remember we were talking about when they did the thing at the door on a night gallery. I mean, they were, the thing was a super letdown, but it's still a great story, you know. So I'm gonna have to check it out.
I highly recommend it. And I did mention the first skit, which is like a guy gets a camera placed in his eye after a car accident, like he lost his eye, so they put like a camera in his eye. So you're watching this whole thing like through his eye, but because of this weird camera technology, he starts to see ghosts and stuff. And there's an old Japanese movie, I can't remember what it's called, that has a very similar concept where you suddenly start to see ghosts, and it's very cool. It's fun. And it's Adam Wingard, if you know who that is. He's the guy who directed that segment. It's really good. But like I said, the standout one is the cult. I think the cult one is the most intense, but that last 5-second shot is so stupid.
Thanks for reminding me about that movie. I've seen it a long time ago. I've only seen it once, but I remember it because of that stupid looking Satan thing with the horn. I thought it was the stupidest thing I ever saw in my life. That's the only reason I remember that movie at all.
But again, I really wanted to bring it up just because of the first person perspective of a zombie. Very cleverly done. And again, it answers that found footage question of why do they keep filming? He keeps filming because he's a zombie. He can't turn it off. Strapped to his head. Anyway. Okay, funny. Danny, you get a second shot.
A second shot? Let me get a prop out. I love anthology shows, and I love anthology movies if they're done good. Unfortunately, very few of them are done good. One of the things done good was Twilight Zone, the movie, because it comes directly from original comic book series. And when you're talking about Twilight Zone, the movie, you have to talk about the airplane thing and the thing on the wing, because it's been done twice greatly. It's been done once on television with William Shatner in the original anthology series, The Twilight Zone, and probably the best episode of The Twilight Zone ever. And it was also redone in the movie and done awesomely. So do you not agree that of all the anthology things in the Twilight Zone series, that was the best?
No, and I agree. I think that one was
The other
best.
stories, unfortunately, didn't live up to.
I mean, I liked them. I like the kick the can segment, the Spielberg one.
Yeah.
The one with the kid, it's not as good as the episode that's based on the same story, but it's still fun, and I like Kevin McCarthy a lot.
Yeah.
But no, like the Nightmare at 40,000 feet or whatever it's called is the best segment for sure. And like I said last time, it was the way the show handled it and the way the movie handled it are two very different things. Like they're kind of like different styles of the same story. You can't like replicate the William Shatner performance. So you put in John Lithgow and you have him do it play it completely differently. Instead of having a guy in an Eskimo suit be the gremlin, you have like something really gross and slimy, they just change it up enough that it's different, but also very, very well done.
No, like I said, the movie version was the modern take, the modern updated version, which they did in a rare case remake something better than the original somewhat.
Yeah.
And I do say the last thing I'll say about it, the thumbs up goes to Dan Aykroyd, who kind of stole it a little bit. He was in, stole the movie. You want to see something really scary?
Absolutely. That haunted me as a child.
That's the part of the movie people remember more than anything else.
Yeah, you could just say that line and everybody knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what makes that especially and probably the number 2 favorite of mine anthology movies ever.
No, he really did literally steal the movie with that one shtick.
Yeah.
He really did. And tip of the hat to Burgess Meredith, who, by the way, original series has the most appearances in any starring role. Huge shoes to fill. He has to do the narration, something that is like iconically only done by Rod Sterling. And he does it, and he makes it his own. And I thought he just accepting that role, I thought he deserved a pat on the back for that.
He was good.
I'm just going through the comments. Sorry. Talk amongst yourselves.
I always thought it was a great movie. I haven't seen it in years and years and years though, and I need to rewatch it.
Over the last 4 years, I've been reviewing a bunch of these comic books called The Witching Hour. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Witching Hour series of comic books from the 40s and 50s. It's a real old comic book series, and you'd be surprised how many stories in the Witching Hour comic books simulate stuff you see in Night Gallery or the Twilight Zone episodes.
Wow.
And I've often wondered as I read through these Witching Hours, is maybe somebody didn't steal a few ideas from these old comic books. And
borrowed the ideas.
One thing I always wondered is what would have happened if Albert Brooks had said, "No, I'd prefer to not see something scary." Would he have just driven on to the next town?
Just kept singing the Midnight Special.
Yeah, really.
It's like that old Japanese urban legend about the beautiful woman wearing the mask. And she says, "Do you think I'm pretty?" And I certainly do. And she removes it. It's like, now, what do you think? If a Japanese girl with or without a mask ever said to me, "Do you think I'm pretty?" I would say, "I don't know. What do you think?" You tell me, do you think you're pretty? Like, oh, okay. Have a nice day.
Move along now. Move along.
Yeah, moving on.
Nothing to see here.
Well, it's like Bloody Mary. If you don't say Bloody Mary into the mirror, you can't get attacked by Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
Don't invite fate. She comes over enough as it is.
Do you want to see something really scary?
No, thank you.
Not really.
No, not really. Not today.
Yeah,
I'm driving the car. I don't need to see anything scary right now.
You sure? Yes, I'm quite certain. Thank you.
Quite positive, yes. Leave me alone.
Oh, darn.
Okay, Damien, what do you got?
All right, since this is probably going to be my last go here, I'm going to give you guys the option of one of two here. I'm just going to hold them up. So, which one?
Oh, right.
Ooh, agony of choice.
Well,
and this is
what's the choice here? We're picking which one's worse than the other, or are we picking
well, no. Which would you rather me talk about?
I would rather talk about Cloud Atlas. Honestly.
Okay.
We're going to talk about anything but them two movies.
Snap.
You must be one of the people that don't like Cloud Atlas.
I'm not real fond of either one of them.
Well, Sin City's anyway.
Sin City.
I love
worst.
I love the adaptation in Sin City, but we'll talk about that another time. Just the way they shot it and so on and so forth. It's like reading a graphic novel on film. You know, it's just
a Frank Miller
Yeah.
graphic novel, which is
Exactly,
even better.
yeah. But as far as okay,
His
so back,
post is so bad it made Pons freeze up again.
Again, yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna leave it for now. I'll come back in if I have time for one more.
Okay, so Cloud Atlas, I think is a very, very underrated movie because a lot of people just don't understand it. They break up the story so much that you have to actually really pay attention. It's almost a 3-hour movie, you know, so it's hard to keep up with what's going on, and you almost have to watch the movie 3, even 4 times to really get what's going on.
Yeah, like I'm gonna sit through that piece of crap 3 or 4 times.
Well, I mean,
be nice.
After you've seen it the 3rd time, it's not a piece of crap anymore.
After you see it the 3rd time, it'll probably turn into Titanic, and you'd wish everybody was dead.
Well, if it turned into the Titanic, then yeah, I would wish everybody was dead because I think that's a crappy movie. But anyway, so it's a movie that, you know, is basically the concept of you know, the reincarnation of a soul, if you will. You know, it doesn't have to be reincarnation, it could be whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But over time, and how that person kind of changes the future in and of itself, kind of thing, and what their choices and what they do lead to in the end. But it also, you know, they reuse the same actors over and over again, so you actually get to see like the different actors playing different characters throughout time too, which is a pretty neat thing.
Even like different ethnicities and stuff.
Yeah, even different ethnicities and sexes. Even there's a couple that play women, there are a couple men that play women, and a couple of women that play men. So at some point in the movie. So yeah, it's just I think it's a really neat movie about, you know, just completely different styles at different times. They're completely different stories, all that are all encapsulated in and of themselves, but are linked to each other through this one birthmark and or a small plot device that follows from one segment to another usually. And it's usually, you know, this one's linked to that one, and then that one is linked to this one by another character, and so on and so forth. So you kind of have to follow all that. I found what was interesting was the button on the main character's vest or suit in the very early episode is also in the very last one. So he finds the main character finds the button. Anyway, it's like from the beginning and the end of the movie. But you know, so you just have these different segments that are they're what, 2 segments were directed by one director, and then, or 3 segments were one director and 3 were another. I can't remember exactly. But they're all different,
right?
Yeah, but there was another director in there too that directed. Okay. You know, there's actually 3 directors. There's,
well, usually with anthologies, that's
Tom Tykwer is the other director. The Wachowskis are the director of 3 of them, and then Tykwer is the director of the other. So
yeah, I remember the day I watched that movie, the batteries in the remote died, and I couldn't fast forward, and I felt like poking my eyes out with ice picks by the end of it.
Oh, Danny!
I am very sorry to hear that, Dan.
But Vim stole one of the things I was going to say. It reminds me of The Fountain too. They are very similar movies.
Yeah, I have not seen that, and I need to.
You should definitely see The Fountain. You would love.
Okay.
And it's another one of those movies you have to watch it a couple times to even understand what the hell's going on.
If you have to watch it a couple of times to get it, it probably isn't a good movie.
I disagree, but
I disagree. That usually means that there's a deeper message and a deeper meaning that has to be.
The only movie that I ever had to watch twice to really get it was the one where Bruce Willis turned out to be dead at the end, and I didn't get it the first time for some reason.
Oh yes, Die Hard. I
Sixth
remember.
Sense,
But also the Cloud Atlas is kind of like it's the story that the Illustrated Man was trying to tell, like the movie version of the Illustrated Man. It's kind of what that was going for, but completely failed at. Whereas Cloud Atlas actually succeeds in tying it all together the way the Illustrated Man did. So
I do think that they broke up the story a little bit more than they could have, but at the same time, when you look at where they transition from one segment to another, there's a reason for it. You know, there's a tie there somehow. It's either the lesson or, you know, this relates to that or somehow linked to that kind of thing. So it was a you know, just neat the way they wove the whole thing together. And I did like how every one of the stories in and of itself was like a completely different genre of story almost.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, you had like the old you know, mid 1800s you know, colonial kind of story about, you know, being on a ship and slavery and, you know, standing up against the establishment. And then you go into you know, who was it, the Cloud Atlas Sextet, what was the guy's name anyway, the guy, you know, writing the symphony, and that was a love story, but at the same time, you know, kind of a story of the creation of this piece of music that is then played throughout the rest of the movie in different parts. But and I mean, it was interesting the way, you know, they went through all these different, you know, genres. Oh, and this one from the 70s was like a crime, you know, almost like a crime novel or crime or like a you know, like a 70s, you know, it was almost like a buddy cop story, but it was like a buddy reporter story kind of thing, you know. And then
Or President's Men kind of thing.
Yeah. And into the, you know, 2012 with The Writer, it's a comedy, you know, basically that whole one's basically a comedy of errors and whatnot. And but you know, that was a completely different feel to it than the rest. And going on into the future with Somni 451 or whatever her name was it 451 anyway?
Yep, you are correct.
Yeah.
Somni 451.
Yep. Okay.
How do you remember that?
I don't. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page.
You know?
Anyway, yeah, we're all doing the same thing here. We got it on the other monitor, you know.
I'm trying not to cheat. I've got phones all around me, but none of them
Yeah.
turned on. I'm trying to do straight.
There's no point. I'll never beat indies, so why bother?
And that was and the Somni 451 thing was all like a, you know, sci-fi, you know, future kind of thing, you know, but it's kind of like a authoritarian future. But it was neat. It had some neat technology ideas in there and whatnot, and executions of things, and it was a very action filled, you know, kind of like, you know, badass hero kind of thing going on. You know, followed that by the post apocalyptic, you know, Hawaii or wherever that was supposed to be. I think it was, it's Hawaii.
Yeah, I think it's Hawaii.
It was Hawaii.
Yeah.
In fact, the bad tribe is called the Kona tribe, which I thought was cute.
Yep. There you go.
And the best part about that is they actually weren't Polynesian. They were the Caucasian imperialists who had sort of reverted to a tribal society, but still were the imperialists, which I thought was a brilliant sort of message. I'm not sure if that message was intended or not. I'd like to think that it was, because it's such a brilliant message.
I think that it was intended, yeah. And the interesting tie together between the Somni story and the post-apocalyptic Hawaii was that's where Somni went to do her message. She went to that station that they broadcast from. That was where she went.
I thought you meant the sort of Soylent Green subplot in the Somni story.
Oh, there's that too. Yeah.
And then the Kona are cannibals, you know. It's
that's an interesting that's an interesting tie together right there. Yeah.
I mean, but I feel like I have to watch it again now. I feel like I need to watch it again.
Yeah, there's lots of little plot devices.
You're stressed by memory.
I'm sorry to you know, bother you so much there, Dan. You know.
Now I got to remember things, man.
One of the greatest episodes of Star Trek TOS was the one with the Yangs and the comms. And one of the main plot devices in that, and they said, well, if society and Western civilization broke down, the Caucasians would sort of relearn the forms of life of the indigenous. And it says, oh, wouldn't that be nice? And in the Kona section of Cloud Atlas, it says, not necessarily.
No.
Leave it to them to find a way of making it horrible. You know?
Yeah. They become barbaric and start eating each other. That's great.
Yes,
yeah. Let's
exactly.
do that. Let's do that.
So the imperialists are still living off the indigenous. So what else
I found was weird was the people that were like, you have a functioning society and a functioning village there in this dystopian future where people know how to farm and hunt and gather and so on and so forth. And then this other group just decides that they want to go and it's not a big group, or at least it doesn't look like it. They want to go and just eat people. It's like, can't you guys just like, take off the makeup and go live with the villagers and, farm some sheep or something? I mean, I'm sorry, lamb's pretty good. I don't know if anybody else is having, but I don't know how people taste, but I would think that the livestock would be a better option. But that's just my take on that. But anyway, and of course you need your vegetables too.
Well, of course.
How do you follow that, Thrash? Save us.
Well, it's funny. You see that sort of subplot a lot in science fiction, but also in sociology. I remember years ago when I was in college, when I was learning pre-modern world civ, there were a lot of agricultural communities which pre-existed the agricultural revolution. But what happened was the nomadic tribes came in and wiped them all out. But after doing so, they incorporated a lot of their techniques, and they made it an eclectic. And that's when you had the second agricultural revolution, which is where you see like the that place in Sumeria, or in Pakistan, the Indus Valley. But it's this second age of civilization. But they always leave out the fact that they all started out by wiping out the first layer.
Yeah.
And something tells me whoever wrote that segment in Cloud Atlas knew that.
Gotcha. Good point. That's a good point. Yeah. Too bad they were all dying from radiation poisoning too. But,
well, there's that as well.
Yeah. So it's after the fall, as they said at the beginning of that segment. So I guess there was a world war or something. They never really explained it. So, but
those are the best kind.
Yeah.
Like in the road, you're never really sure what happens in the road.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I always wondered that too.
A nuclear war. Maybe it was a meteorite.
Could have been, but it was the thing that is probably something to do with societal collapse. Maybe there was a nuclear war because they're talking about radiation poisoning. Everybody's got it, basically. Everybody's dying from it. So, and then some people have the plague, the people from, what are they, the Prussians or whatever he calls them. The people that have the technology, where Halle Berry came from there. They have the plague. Whereas I guess the people on the island don't. So, I mean, we don't know. It could have been maybe like they had some sort of worldwide power reactor and it blew up and spread radiation everywhere. Or, maybe society collapsed and nobody took care of the nuclear reactors and they all leaked and now there's radiation everywhere. So we don't really know. But
I think sometimes with stories like that, the more you explain, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
So anytime a zombie movie is tried to explain a zombie outbreak, it's never
either way you get radiation. If a meteor comes crashing down, it's going to blow up nuclear power plants, and you're going to get radiation. And a good example of nature causing nuclear accidents is that whole Fukushima earthquake tidal wave thing that come in, that tsunami that hit the power plant.
Yeah, and then they had to dump it into some of the wastewater into the ocean, and now the fish are radioactive. And
but also, if a meteor hits, you're going to get radiation, even if it doesn't hit a nuclear power plant. I mean, the reason we know about the K2 boundaries because of the layer of iridium.
Yeah, true. Because there's a lot of radioactive elements on asteroids. So,
right.
Yeah. In fact, that's why the Earth's core is still hot. Because we got bombarded by asteroids that had a lot of uranium in them. So
Thrash may be having some problems.
Radiation.
Yeah, he's got radiation poisoning. Yep.
Oh, poor guy.
I told him not to keep that demon core in his bedroom.
Well, he doesn't listen, So.
I told him not to make fun of the Blame Heart, but he wouldn't listen.
Anyway, that's all I got on Cloud Atlas. Good movie, underrated. You should watch it. So.
I never watched it again. I want to piece it together again.
It's been a few years since I watched it. I meant to watch it again because I knew you were going to bring it up, but I didn't get around to it.
That's all good.
So we have time for one more. Thrash and Tracy, you want to fight it out? You want to
I
flip
know.
a
Let
coin?
Crash go. He knows a lot more, and I'm learning a lot.
Thank you. I owe you one, Tracy. I'll let you go out of turn next time, even though it's actually your turn. But you know what I mean.
No, come on.
I'm gonna pick and I've already frozen again, but I'm gonna run with it as is because we're in the home stretch. Yeah. I'm gonna go with possibly the weakest anthology of all time. It's an anthology. Usually they have 3 or 4 stories. Some have as little as 2. This is an anthology of 1, and it's Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. Possibly one of the worst movies ever made.
What the heck?
Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. It's actually done by MST3K, and their rendition of it is a riot.
1972, huh?
I saw this on the big screen during one of their simulcasts, where they broadcast out of Tennessee and broadcast all over the country. I saw them do this one live. What it is this guy, Mose, I think his name was, he made these very short, low budget / no budget kids shorts, I think for local TV, and they were dreadful, usually with local actors. And what he did was he decided he was going to try to make a Christmas movie. So what he did was he shot all this footage. What happens is Santa Claus is delivering toys, and somewhere over Florida, the reindeer break free and go home, so he's stuck there. And some local children try to help him. So there's this whole thing about Santa Claus needing help. And when they become frustrated, he tells them the story of courage and perseverance with Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, the Jack and the Beanstalk short is most of the characters aren't even wearing costumes. They're just wearing this like weird floral 70s clothes. It's downright surreal. But there's this crazy story, which wasn't part of the narrative, about Jack and the Beanstalk. They come in, and what happens is you find out in a theme park a couple towns over, and there actually was a theme park. I think my dad took me there when I was a kid. I have vague recollections of this place in Florida. But one of the characters is the Ice Cream Bunny, and he rides in this like 1920s fire truck, and he rescues Santa Claus. And they all live happily ever after. Now, the one thing that almost makes this an actual anthology is there's 2 versions. One, actually, I guess there was the theatrical release where this guy had also made a rendition of Thumbelina. So there's 2 renditions out there, one with Thumbelina and one with Jack and the Beanstalk. But again, it feels like a very, very, very low budget anthology. The only real difference being is it's an anthology where the framing device only frames 1 story. And I thought that in of itself makes it worth discussing. And Dan, thank you for pulling that out of your hat. I've never been more impressed.
Yeah, I didn't exactly pull it out of my hat, but I pulled it out of somewhere.
I can only imagine. I know where it should have come from.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a chance.
You pick one I have never seen, and if anybody wants to see that movie you were talking about, I just shared it on my community post, and it's in my cool movies playlist.
Oh, awesome!
All right.
And again, the MST3K version is an absolute riot. It's really funny.
And I thought I'd seen all the MST3000 movies, but I guess I missed that one.
It's riff tracks.
It was riff tracks. I should have mentioned that part.
Basically the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, close enough.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it either. That's news to me.
Yep.
Now I'll look at it.
But it does sound absolutely dreadful.
It sounds terrible. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've actually gone over an hour and a half. So on that note, I think we're gonna call it.
He says that like it's a bad thing.
Thrash. I mean, you've already mentioned it, but go ahead and plug your stuff again tonight.
Oh yes, tonight I'm having my normal 7:30 live chat. All are welcome. Like I say, there'll be trivia and maybe some dad jokes.
All children are welcome in the
Yes,
light.
all are welcome.
You can't say that and not make me think of Poltergeist.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. Step toward the light.
Tracy, you're not working on anything, right? You need to rest.
Well, I need my rest first, but I am working on something.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna do a live, so don't count me out, guys. I just have been so slow with my channel.
Totally fine.
Don't worry, Tracy. Break a leg. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Did
sorry.
you
The devil
break
made
it
me
or
say
did you
that.
just strain it
Humor.
or sprain
She
it?
broke her ankle.
Oh, she broke it.
Ouch.
Oh man.
In 2 spots.
Oof.
I went for it all. When I do something, I do it good, man.
Yeah, you go all the way. That's how
That's
you
right.
do it.
Me and Tracy must be psychically linked. She broke her ankle the same day I twisted mine real bad, and I was hopping for 36 hours.
Oof.
That's terrible.
No, that happens to me all the time. I'm old.
Well, old man, you got anything to
Like
plug?
You're older than me.
I guess I'll be on with Sarah, my flock, and Snartness Thursday nights, like always.
Yep.
Next week, I hope me and Thrash are going to get together and come up with a really cool subject to talk about, but we ain't that far along yet.
Yeah,
And
we'll get there.
I thought I would plug a little bit by showing this really cool book I got.
Hey.
One of my
Yeah, I
subscribers
know that writer.
by this guy named E. McGill, and I hear it's real good. I'm going to start reading it as soon as I finish this UFO piece of stuff I'm reading.
Yeah, read something really, really terrible. That way,
I'm
my
gonna plug
book seems
Michigan
even better.
Rob, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, who has these 2 books called True Cryptid Encounters about Bigfoot and lake monsters and all kind of horrible things that go bump in the night. And it's kind of fits into today's show. That's why I got them, because they're each filled with different stories, anthology books filled with different stories of cryptid horror from my friend Bigfoot Michigan Rob.
Cool.
And I think that about covers everything I got going on, which is very little.
Okay,
Excellent.
and let's see, for my channel, stick around for half an hour and I'll be dropping a review of the Quatermass experiment, which I have been wanting to talk about for so long. So there's that. And yeah, I'll be back next week. And like Danny, I'll probably be on Sarah and Snark stream on Thursday. I'm kind of 50-50. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. Thursdays are hard.
Well, I'm always on Brainbenders Banners on
Yeah.
Saturday night. That's the home show.
That's the one I'm always on too. I'm always on that one.
Yeah, me too.
Unless the storm blows me away, I will be there.
Right. But otherwise, I'll see you in chat at Thrash's show tonight. Again, that's 7:30 Eastern.
Thrash time.
And do you know who's going to be on with
4:30.
you next week, Eric?
No, I haven't figured that out yet. I don't even know what the subject's going to be. So
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't planned that far ahead yet. I'll let you know. I think Thrash wanted to keep going with anthologies. I still have some I can talk
What
about.
anthology can we talk about?
I have some more.
I have more.
I'm sure you do.
So Tug, I'm good either way. If you want to do part 3 on anthology, I'm in. If you want to do something else, I am also in.
I'll figure it out. I'll let you know.
Awesome.
I haven't decided.
And we'll see you guys tonight.
Yep. See you tonight.
Take
Let me hit that outro
Happy
button.
trails!
Thank you and good night.